Unity in Diversity, Part 2. The general argument against my statement, and apparently a very convincing one, is that in the course of evolution, all that is evil in what we see around us is gradually being eliminated, and the result is that if this elimination continues for millions of years, a time will come when all the evil will have been extirpated and the good alone will remain. This is apparently a very sound argument. Would to God it were true. But there is a fallacy in it, and it is this that it takes for granted that both good and evil are things that are eternally fixed. It takes for granted that there is a definite mass of evil which may be represented by 100 and likewise of good, and that this mass of evil is being diminished every day, leaving only the good. But is it so? The history of the world shows that evil is a continuously increasing quantity as well as good. Take the lowest man, he lives in the forest. His sense of enjoyment is very small, and so also is his power to suffer. His misery is entirely on a sense plane. If he does not get plenty of food, he is miserable. But give him plenty of food and freedom to rove and to hunt, he is perfectly happy. His happiness consists only in the senses, and so does his misery also. But if that man increases in knowledge, his happiness will increase, the intellect will open to him, and his sense enjoyment will evolve into intellectual enjoyment. He will feel pleasure in reading a beautiful poem, and a mathematical problem will be of absorbing interest to him. But with these, the finer nerves will become more and more susceptible to miseries of mental pain of which the savage does not think. Take a very simple illustration. In Tibet, there is no marriage and there is no jealousy, yet we know that marriage is a much higher state. The Tibetans have not known the wonderful enjoyment, the blessing of chastity, the happiness of having a chaste, a virtuous wife, or a chaste, virtuous husband. These people cannot feel that. And similarly, they do not feel the intense jealousy of the chaste wife or husband, or the misery caused by unfaithfulness on either side, with all the heart burnings and sorrows which believers in chastity experience. On one side, the latter gain happiness, and on the other, they suffer misery too. Take your country, which is the richest in the world, and which is more luxurious than any other, and see how intense is the misery, how many more lunatics you have compared with other races, only because the desires are so keen. A man must keep up a high standard of living, and the amount of money he spends in 1 year would be a fortune to a man in India. You cannot preach to him of simple living because society demands so much of him. The wheel of society is rolling on. It stops not for the widow's tears or the orphan's wails. This is a state of things everywhere. Your sense of enjoyment is developed. Your society is very much more beautiful than some others. We have so many more things to enjoy. But those who have fewer have much less misery. You can argue thus throughout. The higher the ideal you have in the brain, the greater is your enjoyment, and the more profound your misery. One is like the shadow of the other. That the evils are being eliminated may be true, but if so, the good also must be dying out. But are not evils multiplying fast and good diminishing, if I may so put it? If good increases in arithmetical progression, evil increases in geometrical progression, and this is Maya. This is neither optimism nor pessimism. Vedanta does not take the position that this world is only a miserable one. That would be untrue. At the same time, it is a mistake to say that this world is full of happiness and blessing. So it is useless to tell children that this world is all good, all flowers, all milk and honey. That is what we have all dreamt. At the same time, it is erroneous to think because one man has suffered more than another that all is evil. It is this duality, this play of good and evil, that makes our world of experiences. At the same time, the Vedanta says, do not think that good and evil are two, and two separate essences, for they are one and the same thing, appearing in different degrees and in different guises, and producing differences of feeling in the same mind. So, the first thought of the Vedanta is the finding of the unity in the external, the one existence manifesting itself however different it may appear in manifestation. Think of the old crude theory of the Persians: two gods creating this world, the good god doing everything that is good, and the bad one everything bad. On the very face of it, you see the absurdity, for it is being carried out. Every law of nature must have two paths, one of which is manipulated by one god, and then he goes away, and the other god manipulates the other part. There the difficulty comes, and both are working in the same world, and these two gods keep themselves in harmony by injuring one portion and doing good to another. This is a crude case, of course, the crudest way of expressing the duality of existence. But take the more advanced, the more abstract theory that this world is partly good and partly bad. This is also absurd, arguing from the same standpoint. It is the law of unity that gives us our food, and it is the same law that kills many through accidents or misadventures.